Okay, so I'm starting now. So when we come to unit economics part, so when is the unit economics required actually? So before any round of funding, there is a requirement of unit economics because every person who is investing in your firm wants to know the unit economics of his money because the trends changes before and after the funding. I'll show you and come to the part that how it does. So when we tell about unit economics, it is something like a 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. So what is 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 1, 2 to 3? So 0 to 1 is when you're starting a company, what is something with the first round of funding you're going to do? Tell us that and get the unit economics of that part. This is called the starting point of unit economics. So every stage there are different things because every time your unit economics will not be the same. Sometimes there's a drastic change. That's let's say there's an entire manpower change you want to bring in when you're doing a series A, series B. So those and during pre-IPO stage you want to you're taking the funding to do the unit economics of a balance sheet. So all the stages of unit economics are very different. But today I'm just going to talk about the unit economics of 0 to 1. Means the day when you're starting your own firm and you're trying to get the first round of funding, that's what we are talking about. This is what we call as 0 to 1 unit economics. 0 to 1 unit economics. So what is unit economics? So it means that whatever costs that are going to come up in making the company, you just note it down and tell that how much profitable this business is. Show the profitability part from day zero. That okay, with your round of funding, definitely I can get a profitable business up and running, and I can enable myself to get another round of funding because of this. This is the question that you need to answer by showing your financials. So when we call 0 to 1, we in a particularly in a SaaS kind of subscription based model, the customer lifetime value is 1 year, or let's say 12 months. So lifetime value means you always want to calculate that the customer you're onboarding will buy anything for 1 year minimum most period. Okay. So because the reason is somebody will drop out in 1 month is not something an investor wants to hear. You don't want an investor to invest in something that people will only use for 1 month. They want something which has a perennial strength or perennial kind of value for whatever proposition you are coming up with. So in this 12 months, how should it will be divided? So I will be showing you two approaches. One is the how you start in the first 10, that is what we call as top down approach. And then you actually validate whether your approach was right or wrong via bottoms up calculation. So what are both these things? We will I'll let you know about both the parts. So top down, I'm showing you for the top down, and then I'll take a case study to show you how to calculate the bottoms up calculation. Okay. So when you think about the customer lifetime value of 12 months, so let's say you're going to get a revenue for the 12 months from a customer, how you want to break that revenue? So there are majorly component is TAC because it's if you're building a TAC product, definitely the TAC cost is going to come. So how much should be the TAC cost? It should not be more than 3 months. Now, what does it include? So it should include the tech people, all the salaries of the tech people, then whatever infrastructure or hosting you're gonna use, tech infrastructure like cloud or any storage units or any other data procurement for your ML model. Then there are tools which tech guys use. Let's say you're using Jira, Confluence, whatever additional tools apart from infrastructure. You are buying third-party SaaS tools are called tools which you will be paying a cost of. It should not exceed more than 3 months. Then comes the CEO cost, means the sales part of the cost, which we call as the customer acquisition cost. So customer acquisition cost, in short, we also call it CAC. So CAC again is around 3 months. So again, it includes the sales people, the tools used for sales and marketing like the HubSpot CRM or automation marketing email automation tools or lead generation tools that you'll be using. And then when you're trying to do at scale, you will be doing marketing, or you can say ads also. So those costs are also has to be aligned with the 0 to 1 costing. Second part, let's say you have built the tag. For building the tag and managing the tag, you have the people to get the customers, but there is a cost involved in onboarding the customer also. So we call it turnaround cost actually. So turnaround cost, why there is a cost for turnaround? So basically, whenever you say your software is there, people will, do a trial. They will come to you for asking, okay, this is how it gets used. What is the problem? So, there's an iteration process, and there's a cost involved of time and people in that part. So this is called turnaround cost, means the customer onboarding. So there will be a people cost. There will be communication cost also. So you could be using a lot of communication tools, and you could be creating content cost. Let's say you're creating sales video content or document content for people to understand your product. So that's a turnaround cost. Then comes your uh, what do you call customer support cost. You should always take care of this part, because if you're thinking that there will be no customer support, you cannot build a great company actually. So customer support again should be 1 month. So it will be again the people, the tech, it could be tech, non-tech, whatever it could be. Again, the tools used in the support part to provide the support, all these costs will come into your picture. Then there's another cost which is called as churn cost. So when we say churn cost, it means we are taking into the picture again. Churn is something where the customer will not onboard your again platform, resubscribe your platform after 1 year. So what is something you need to do to keep that person still being on your platform? So some of the things that you need to do is, again, you need to do some sales. Then you need to do kind of some R&D, which makes your product more useful and more fruitful as per customer demand. So those are the costs which will come into the picture. So you just see 3 plus 3 6 and another 3 months, 9 months of cost just goes into the product. Then still there are other costs involved which we come into the picture as 3 months. What are those costs? So there could be branding cost, where you are doing extensive branding, where the customer acquisition is not happening, but still you want to popularize your brand. Then there are, you're over hiring the people, because you know that you need good people to build the good product which will sell in future, but you need people in advance to do that part. Then there's an office space cost. So as many people, there will be no office space or infrastructure requirement doing that part. So how do we come up with this metric? So here, as we say that we are building a tech company, so the primary deciding part comes from the tech part. So whenever you want to start anything, so this was top down. How will you break your 12-month subscription into various costs? Now, when you want to do exact calculation, that's where we go with the bottoms up calculation. If you want to ask anything.
Okay. Yeah, one question I have before you go to
Yeah.
bottom up. See, like, when you do top down,
Yeah.
this LTV you're doing for one customer, right? Okay,
Yes.
so let's take an example. Like you have a yearly subscription of, let's say, $500.
Right.
All right. So that $500 get distributed into this n number of components, and
Right.
so 3 months, like so essentially 25%. So like
Let's say
$125
let's
should
say
be your margin.
let's say it's $300. So per month will be $25. So let's say it is $300. Then 1 month is $25. So 3 months is $75 for this, $75 for this, 25 for this, and 25 for this,
Got
and
it.
25 for this, and then 75 for this. Okay, got it?
Yeah, yeah, got it. Thanks.
Okay, so let's come up with a case study to understand in a very simple way how we can do now the bottoms up calculation. So let's say there's an EF cohort software company started by Abby and Dali. Abby is CEO and Dali is CTO. So they do not have a product, as we all are in the same situation, and they want to raise funds at 10% stake for a pre-valuation of $0.5 million. So I little bit tell you about what is pre-valuation. So let's say one is post-valuation. So what is post-valuation? Currently, your company is on a zero. You do not have revenue, do not have anything. So how can you value it yourself? So let's say when you say that somebody will give me $55K for a 10% stake. So what will be the valuation of the company after funding? $5,500, 550K.
Yeah.
Am I right? Akash, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that is post valuation. So what is pre-valuation? If you subtract the amount of funding that guy gave, let's say 550K is gonna be the funding valuation after EF invest in our company. But what is pre-valuation? If we remove what 55K they gave, so what is that? 495K dollars is something is the pre-money valuation. It's around $500,000 is our pre-money valuation. So every company currently sits on a $500,000 potential even before raising funds. This is the beauty of EF. Now, let's say once we are going into the market, so they have a very competitive product. Let's say somebody is building a very competitive product, which has a very huge market size, where the average cost of competitors with similar offering is at around $250 per year subscription. Okay. So how you can come up with this? You take up your immediate competitors. You take, let's say, 5 or 10 competitors and average them out. So simple as that. Don't make it so complex. Initially, start by averaging out your competitors. If you're not having any competitor, it will be then you will have to go exactly by calculating, which I'll show as in the next part. The next is now what is the aim for the calculation, because your aim for pre-valuation and post-valuation next round of funding should be clear in the 0 to 1 matrix. If these both points are not clear, you cannot tell, or a guy will not fund in your company. So in order to raise the funds, they need to show the financial roadmap and unit economics for next 1 year before they raise their seed investment of 500K at a pre-valuation of $4.5 million. So why can somebody tell me what will be the post valuation if somebody raises 500K dollars?
5 million
5 million.
at what?
Yes.
At 10%, right? But that depends
Yes.
on how much percentage.
At 10%, but I'm assuming, let's say somebody wants to have this. Okay, because immediately the investor wants his investment to be 10x. Everybody looks like that way. It's one of the lucrative values somebody's looking at. So let me come up with this value, how it comes up and what it can be done out. So see, I've come up with a matrix. What it is, let's say day zero, your company, somebody wants to invest at 10%, the company's valuation is 550K dollars. 1 year post, you again wants to have a 10% stake valuation at $5 million. So for a company to have a $5 million, it is expected to have at least 1x revenue so that the valuation could be 20x. So the revenue should be at least 1x. So this is the 1x revenue we are targeting. What is that? It is $250K dollars. So our target is $250K dollars revenue to generate. Since we already know that the average competition pricing in the segment that we are going to enter is $250. So in order to raise $250K dollars, how many customers you need?
1,000.
1,000 customers, right? So how?
Dude, but one question I have before you move ahead.
Sure.
So wait, like in this case, this 250K is 1x of what? So like if it has
1x
to be
means,
100x.
so basically, when we say for a seed investment, a company gets a seed investment at 20x of its revenue. Generally, this is how.
Understood.
Yeah, this is
So
how.
you took that 1/20th of that, and you get
Yes.
250K.
So if somebody is saying that I want to call my company at a $5 million valuation, then somebody will look at, okay, are you having a $250K revenue or not? Okay, somebody wants to look at that part. That's the most important thing that you need to tell upfront. Okay, so how will you do that? Okay, so every unit economics part is divided quarterly. Whatever decision making you make, you do it for quarter. You do not change your things for quarter, because this is an industry standard. You might have heard about all the industries showing their quarterly returns, quarterly balance sheets, quarterly. So quarter is something which is the prime most way of evaluating things. So your balance sheet should always change the metrics in a quarter, not on a monthly basis. It could get very complex. So try to show up things which are on a quarterly basis. How we going to do this? So now we are going to do the bottoms up. Now we have got some basic idea that yes, to get a $250K revenue, we need thousands subscribers who can subscribe at $250 annual subscription cost. Okay, so how we get it? So again, we have broken the entire part: the tech, CAC, turnaround cost, customer support cost, office space cost. Now let's say, when we say initially there are two people, the CTO and the CEO. So there are only one tech guy and one customer acquisition, the CEO guy. So whenever you're taking into consideration, in Indian context, we generally value a person's time as $8 per hour. So I give you a cost matrix across the globe. So in US, it is around $25 an hour, and in Europe, it's around $20 an hour. Australia and Canada are the most expensive. It's around $35 an hour. Okay, so and Singapore again is little on the expensive side, 25 to $30 per hour. Okay, so always remember, doing in India, you have to take the engineering cost this way. If you're doing a business in US, try to make it a 25 to $30 cost per hour. Okay, now let's come to the calculating part. So in a startup, it is assumed that uh, so startups don't work like corporates. Like you'll be only working 40 hours a week, so it's around 200 hours year a month. No, so for a startup, the average is 6 days a week you're gonna work, and on an average, let's say you're gonna take one holiday. So let's say 5 holidays a month you're gonna take. So 25 days and 10 hours of working. So basically, generally the startup founders they work for 12 to 14 hours in order to get a overall output of 10 hours. So it's a 250 hours of workout that you're talking about. So 250 hours of workout is expected from startup founders if they are putting their time money valuation in picture in the financials. So do not do the calculation with 160 hours. That will your investors will laugh. Are you running an enterprise? No, you're running a startup. So give more time, more valuation, and net output of your time opportunity. Next thing is, so let's say it generally comes out to be this. So let's say in initially, this is the how white I multiply with 250 hours because we are assuming a person a month works 250 hours. So initially for a quarter, we are assuming you're gonna spend the time in only building the product. So there is nothing upcoming. So by the time the tech guy builds the products, the CEO gets the customer early adopter, lead generation and all those parts. So both are simultaneously working. There's a work for both of these. So both of these are using infrastructure as well as the CEO is using the all the kind of tools which are required. Now let me come up with a little summary how to design that part. So when we say we are trying to do bottoms up, so manpower cost is something it, okay. But what are some variable costs that you have to assume and then you have to take it out? So in a tech company, it is said that all your tech costs, let's say all your infrastructure costs, all your hosting costs, everything should not be 10%, more than 10% of your actual product subscription price. So let's say if I'm selling a subscription of $250, in a year, I should not spend more than $25 on, let's say, AWS costs. This is what they mean. So let's say if it's $25, so per month it should not be more than $2. Yes, it sounds funny, but unit economics work like this. Initially, because you have less number of customers, it's very small. But with respect to time, you will see that it gets diminished over the time value. So I'll show you how it happens. Now, so for the first quarter, you're assuming that there's only production cost happening, so there's not much of the revenue generating. But since you're building the product, there is a tech cost involved in building the product, also in the infrastructure you're running, your Kubernetes and all those things. There are costs involved in that part, which could be assumed of around $1,500. Okay. Now let's say, assuming that we gonna start our go-to market after a quarter, when you're so 90 days is industry standard to build an MVP. MVP means a product which will survive for the entire unit matrix, which is called MVP. Okay, means you're not gonna change your business
You
model for at least.
unit matters as in you mean the other quarters as well for of the year.
Yes. So basically, what you are going
Okay.
to create in this 3 month, it will have iterations. The product will upgrade, no problem. But
Yeah,
the product should exist. What today you are creating should exist at least the end of the year, or this unit
got
metric
it.
cycle size. Means if you're saying no, in after 6 months you're saying no, we are again back to the drawing board. That is not something you're pre-thinking. So everybody wants to know this pre-forecast. Okay, what is something which person will pay on the fourth month for $250? Is it worth it? You have to show there's another competitive analysis chart that you have to show that what in 3 months we will build with our competitors in comparison, so that they will come and pay $250 for this product.
And what if the MVP time is greater than 3 months?
Definitely you can change the metrics accordingly.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
this is, I'm just
Yeah,
taking a sample. Okay, I'm not
got
saying
it.
that
Got it.
even for some products it will be 2 years also. For some product it could be 1.5 years. For some product it could be 15 months. You decide your timeline. I am taking example of 1 year and trying to break into 1 year. Okay.
So whatever MVP will be, it should it should be constant for at least a year. That's
Not
what
a
you are
year.
saying.
No. It should be constant from your first funding to the next round of funding.
Got it.
That is the unit matrix. So unit matrix only works between funding to funding. You only do your unit matrix whenever you want to get a funding. Otherwise, you don't do that. That part is not a day-to-day activity. You have to do it.
So
It is
unit matrix, you mean
unit
you are
economics.
showing, yeah,
Unit economics is
whatever.
something you are showing the worth that you will create from the investor's money. This is called
Got
unit
it. And
economics.
how long will it take to burn that cash? You are showing it in
Right,
the matrix.
right. How much with this capital, what we can do, how much we can do to unlock the next level of potential.
Got
Zero
it.
to one. This is what we call zero to
Got
one.
it. Got it.
Am I right?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Mansur, clear?
Yeah, man, all good.
Okay. So, so what I'm trying to do is, so in a very simple calculation, for the first quarter, I'm assuming that there's only product building happening and the CEO is generating the leads and all the early adopter, gaining their early adopter traction by a beta trial or alpha trial. That's only which is happening in the first quarter. So you're targeting that with the fourth month, you're going to be the go-to market and you have to create your go-to market plan also with that. Now, assuming that when you go to market, you want your CEO, your CTO to get another person to look into the bug part and all those parts, because when there is something running in production, every now and then there's a bug coming up. So always hire another tech person once you go to market. Don't hire before that. Okay, even if you're hiring an intern, whatever you can hire, but always hire when you go to market that part. Now coming up with that matrix, what happens is, so here I'm, since it's doubling the manpower, you're doubling the cost and all those parts. Now coming, when you're coming up with the customer acquisition part, so there are like kind of the percentage kind of the build up that you build across getting 1,000 customers. You cannot equally divide 1,000 customers all the 9 months of the year. Okay, so how will you divide that part? So there is a limit a person can turn around number of customers. How will you calculate that part? So let's say currently there's only one guy who is doing sales and marketing, that is CEO, who is having 250 hours of a month available for him to do sales and marketing. Now, how do you compel that time opportunity cost into converting into customers? So there's a very simple turnaround way. So let's say in the early days, what happens is that if you are doing, let's say, 100 demos means 1 hour a demo. So 100 hours you are spending on demo. Okay. Initially, the conversion rates are very high. It is around 30-35% because you are always targeting your early adopter who have the biggest spend. You know that your early adopter size, because you have already spent 3 months in talking to these early adopters. You already have these immediate customers. Now you're just onboarding them. So your initial traction is going to be very high. So initial first quarter, your turnaround people will be very high, 20, 25, 30. But within this time, let's say you're spending just 100 hours in onboarding these people. What about the 150 hours? This 150 hours you have to invest in getting leads more so that these people could be onboarded in another next month or another coming 2-3 months, because generally from targeting first person to onboarding a person generally takes 1 month to 3 months on an average. Why 1 month? Somebody would like your product, will try, will do 2-3 times talking to you, and then it will immediately buy it. It is the 1 month. But who are these 3 months? Those people who are already using an existing product, they will have to think twice, thrice, even for 2 months to get into a sync. Okay, let's switch our product from this platform to this platform. That's where the time goes to 3 months, but not more than that. Okay, so that's where what happens is, once a month you cannot turn more than 30 customers. That's the upper limit. After doing 150 hours of demo calls and you're able to convert 30 customers, post that, a CEO should understand that yes, he needs another guy, so add another guy. An upper limit is 20-25 customers. Post that you cannot convert, you have to get an additional guy who can equivalently work with you and get additional leads to gain to the another traction. So your next quarter target, once you are increasing your sales team, you should always increase your tech team also, because there will be more bugs, more support, more turnaround problems that will be happening. For that, you should be always upgrading with that part. Now in this part, how will you calculate the subscription cost, or you say the infra and tools cost? So see, initially whatever cost you are burning on every month on the infra cost, it more or the less remains constant. Because let's say your product, there are three things that are always in the component they're working in the tech part. One is uh, the production, which is the actual the customer is using, and then there are test and stage two units which are always, but and these are something which are running 24/7. Even there are one developer, two developer, four developer, the cost doesn't change because the number of servers and the number of things that are running at the back end almost is more than the same. So you can assume that it is minimum most cost of $1,500, which is going to be there. So next month, when you onboard new customers, so you cannot, let's say this is F28, this is the revenue you are generating, and we are saying that 10% will go in the infra management cost. But this 10% is over the year. This is the monthly cost. So what is the monthly expenditure that infrastructure is going to come up? Divide by 12. Okay. And next month you're going to get new revenue, but there are still existing customers. So this cost will be there. Then there will be additional cost of whatever new customers you're onboarding. So keep on adding from the previous month, whatever new revenue you've generated, add the new infrastructure cost into that, and similarly do it for 12 months. Did you get that? Akash, Mansoor?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this way, we come up with the tech cost, the CAC cost. Now, again, initially we are assuming that for the initial 6 months, when there are less than 100 customers, all the things are pretty sorted. You don't, your tech team and your CEO are both working as the turnaround guy and the customer support guy. They are managing both the parts. But once you're having 100+ customer list, okay, in general, it is not called 100% customer list, but once you have reached the whatever your target revenue is, you reach the 10% of the target revenue, start hiring and making professional your processes, because professionalism works in SaaS industry. People want people like account executives, customer support engineers, or people to have one shot call to get the immediate help whenever they are in trouble. So because after your 10% of your target revenue, your revenue growth's gonna shoot up immediately. Because why it's gonna shoot up, I tell you here is, so till now, up till your 110% customers, you are just doing outbound sales. Means you are calling, pinging the person, asking to use your product, you're force selling them. But now there has been 6 months, there have been 9 months, and now you have a list of 10,000, 20,000, 15,000 customers. Now they have not used your product. Now you want to convert these into your actual customers. So instead of finding new customers, your target area is to how to channelize these customers into the actual customer who have actually seen or tried to see or know my product in a way. That's where that ad marketing comes in. So for the next 90% of the market to capture in a quarter or in a shorter period of time, let's say you have taken 10% time to capture in 9 months, then your rest 90% should come in less than 9 months. It should always be 6 months, 4 months, 5 months, not more than that. Because if you fail to do that, your next round of investors will fall back on you. Okay, you don't seem to be that promising because your revenues are not doing that shoot up. Okay, so that's where you start the advertising. These are very expensive part. These always come up as a 20% of the price. Let's say for every customer $250 you're spending, $50 will just go in advertising part of it, because you are advertising 100 people and from them one customer is coming up. So advertising 100 people cost has to be accommodated from that person's cost only. That where these cost becomes very heavy, and then your revenue, then your revenue shoots up, and also your expenses shoots like anything. This is where you require most of the capital cash in hand, because you have to spend first on your advertisement, then you generate the revenue. That's why people need funding in hand to expand their market or expand their businesses, and that's why we need funding to do that. So if you see, when we add up these costs, so what I have done is I've added the tech cost, the CAC cost, the turnaround cost, the customer support cost, which will come in form of the people, and the office space cost. So in India, generally a person occupies $100 office space person. I've taken as an average in Bangalore and Mumbai, where the co-working space costs around 6,000, 7,000 rupees per month. Okay. So what you're doing here is, let's say so what happens, the rest 90% of the customers, why they shoot up? So you're having more sales executives, you're doing retargeting enables your funnel to auto do the things, and you're having specialized people like account executives and customer support executives to help smoothen your process, so your salespeople can spend more time only on sales. And definitely you have already smoothened your process, and it will shoot up like anything. So when you see how the expenditure and revenue looks, so the initial months it is very tough. So just see the balance sheet of the first 6 months, how it happens. You're spending on an average six k or 7k or 8k dollars, and you're not generating anything out of it. So you just see on an average you are burning 50k dollars in 6 months. This is the money you require to go to market. This is why we need funding of 50k to go to market. You have to be very justified why you need 50k, where will you burn it. Post that you can say that, see, I will start becoming self-sufficient, my revenues will be more than my expenditures, and my company will start self-sufficiently. Okay, although it will never happen so, because whatever money comes in, you're always putting in rebranding and hiring more people and all those parts. But this is the one of the way to show the unit matrix. So this is how you show the unit matrix, that see, before tax, I can generate with all this metrics. If I keep my unit matrix as $250 and I can generate 1,000 consumers with my this go to market strategy, I can generate by 190k expenditure, I can generate 250k. So as I said, the margin should be around 3 months. So what is the margin? Here's 60k, so it's around 3 months. Although there is a tax, but always the margin is calculated before tax, so you can always take into that consideration. So
You
this
call
is
that
called,
EBITDA.
yeah,
EBITDA,
EBITDA,
right?
exactly, EBITDA. So yes, exactly. So this is called the bottoms up market sizing and market evaluation and unit economics from 0 to 1.
Awesome, man. Great session.
Yeah.
So I have a question
Yeah.
regarding. So here you have not defined your unit, like in this case right now. Like what is your unit here? Like the unit will change for different kinds of businesses, right? Like how do you measure? Like last time we spoke about this, if you remember. Like
Right. So
a
generally,
unit could be a
I'm
minute. Yeah.
talking about subscription per year. Lifetime value is 1 year, so I'm talking about subscription per year is my unit.
Okay, so your one subscription is your unit in
One
your case.
subscription is the unit. Yes.
Got
So
it.
in SaaS industry, the customer lifetime value is always,
The unit.
Unit. Yes.
Yeah, I had a question like, what if things don't go according to this matrix? Say in COVID, people
It
burnt
never
a lot
goes.
of
It
cash.
actually never goes, Akash. It never goes. So when you're talking about 1 year's bandwidth, it will actually
Yeah.
take 1.5 years to do that part. As I said, that let's
Okay.
say first 9 months are gonna be very extensive, but for the doing the rest 90% of the sales, you have to take less than 9 months, because then
Got
that's
it.
so this is where the most of the problem lies in the next round of funding. Only those companies who are promising enough to show the rest 90% growth in less than the time which they have achieved the 10% growth get immediate round of funding.
Got it.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So this is purely what all VCs talk about, think about, and they always ask you to formulate these sheets like this way only. So this is the actual sheets which I have formed for many startup pitches of mine also. Okay, we took the same pitch to YC also, and it worked. So the exact
Nice.
metrics I used there. So everything has to be supported by facts, and you should have answer for everything. Let's say you're saying why it will shoot up, so show your go to market plan. This is what I'm going to do, what in 9 months and what in the rest 6 months or 7 months, 5 months, 4 months, what. Always answer that part very well in advance. And only those startups scale and succeed in 5 years who keep on this growth curve. So growth curve is pretty important, and growth curve does not mean the tech growth. Sales growth is the primary most important part in that part, because only investors are interested in revenue, nothing else. Even your product works or not, nobody is interested. Sometimes product are not that awesome, but the sales are awesome.
Akshay, tell me something.
Yeah.
So what we are doing here in this sheet is like after 3 months, we are rolling out a beta product, okay, which is the MVP.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I have a question. Like, let's say you want to do alpha testing. You do this alpha testing in the first 3 months itself, right? Like with a
Right.
small set of users.
Right. So MVP has to be a beta only. You can, because somebody has to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
A non-tested, nobody will pay for a non-tested product.
So wait, hold on. So you're saying
and in general, avoid freemium. So what people do is, you should always do alpha testing, that is required. Okay, You give the product, find the bugs and solve them. But do not come up with the product by yourself. Get the customer first, make the product according to his choice first. Your early adopter, it should always, the customer should drive your product, not you should drive your product. Always your customer should drive the product. So
Yeah, makes sense.
all these initial 15-20 customers should say that yes, I will pay, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it.
Got it. So what you're saying is like, so your beta from April, let's say in this sheet. So for beta, you start your subscription like from day one, from April of day one, and from there
Definitely.
basically you start. Your improvement obviously is keeping on happening in the back end, but like people have to start paying from this date, and then it just goes on increasing from this number. is
Right,
basically-
right,
Got
right,
it.
right. And always remember these, whatever initial quarters you show, that if you're saying that yes, I will be able to get my first paid customer after not 3 months, let's say 6 months, be sure about that. Because always the secondary investor will always look at the primary investor deck. They will ask for both the decks. Show me your primary deck, show me your secondary deck. And you cannot edit your primary deck also. So basically, your primary deck is not called by you, it is called by the investor. So investor, they have networks, they always call the primary deck from the market. They procure it from the market. So your primary deck is always available in the market. You cannot say that I did like this way. No, it does not work that way. So always be sure, do all the calculations at day zero that yes, your go-to market day will be after 6 months, no problem. Let it be after 6 months, let it be after 1 year. But be sure and stick to the timelines. The major startups that who have raised pre-seed funding have failed, they were not go to market on time. That's why they never scaled and they never raised funding for the next round, even if their product was failure.
Got it. Okay, before we wind up this session, Akshay, I have one last question. Can you touch upon go-to-market strategies? Like, we always have seen this question, like, what's your go-to-market strategy? Like, what is this? Like, what is the big deal about it?
Okay, so go-to-market strategy, there are three things which should underline that part. One is you should always have a good number of early adopter customer for whom you are creating the product. If you are creating the product and you're thinking somebody will buy, it will never work. This is never going to be the go-to-market strategy actually. So this is the only go-to-market strategy that always works for very good companies and very good startups. Second part of the go-to-market strategy is you always get paid for whatever you are doing. What people do is they do not keep the margin. They want to squeeze the cost. Don't squeeze the cost. If you're giving value to somebody, ask for an ROI. Let's say whatever you do in your go-to market, always tabulate what is the pre-metrics they are having. Give them a roadmap. If you use our product, this will be the minimum ROI we promise you to give, and try to achieve that ASAP. Because this ROI story is what sells. On every website that you go, you always read the case study of a product because they always want to know what is the ROI somebody has gained. So for go to market, defining the pre data and the post data to evaluate the ROI is most important. This is where you will validate whether this is a very big idea, very big problem has been solved, or still you need to more dig in with your existing customers so that you can unlock more potential in sales and identifying a bigger problem with a bigger solution. So customer discovery is a part of the go-to market to get into the right pricing. So initially you're starting with the pricing, but is it the right pricing to give you the ROI? Let's say you found after 6 months, you have built something great, which is an ROI of 10x. Then you immediately increase your pricing. You should never decrease the pricing. Always increase the pricing. Always remember in any company, pricings are never reduced. Prices are always increased. I've never seen any company reducing the prices over the years. Every product's pricing gets increased because you're improving the product. You're not deproving the product. Okay. So three things. First is always have the early adopters paying for you to build the product. Second part is match the metrics that this is the current situation, this is the present situation, using our product, this is the unlocking potential, this X has gone into unlocking the value, so this is the value proposition of a product. So yes, I'm selling at the right price, or should I increase the price? The second most part you should do. And the third most part is the customer discovery. Keep on doing. So all your tech sprints should be aligned with the next customer's onboarding. So let's say if you're targeting that your next big customer is not a startup, but it's a 50 to 100 people company and they're having some new problem, immediately unlock that problem and try to add into the sprint so that they become now your early adopter for your new sprint. So your new sprint should always be backed by an early adopter, which is a bigger player who's going to subscribe more subscription. Let's say initial ticket sizes are $250 for, let's say all the individuals are paying $250. The next ticket size after 1 quarter or 2 quarter, these are the people who are paying $1,000, $2,000, targeting bigger customer. This is how you unlock the 90% potential. Once you have built this bandwidth in the 9 months, you unlock the bigger customer.
Yeah, but here you'll have to define some sort of a unit in the case of B2B, right? Like, how are you scaling like from
So
$250
B2B,
subscription?
so B2B is always the unit economics is subscription only. But you're finding that market which will immediately buy more subscriptions.
Got it, understood.
Yeah. So initially you cannot go to the bigger market. You have to start small. But how you create that your rest 90% will come in the shorter period of time, because you have found that unlocking value, that my product at this pricing will give you this much X ROI, which is for sure I have the proven people. I can make you connect to them also.
Got it.
That is
And actually, I had a question. So how do you quote a price for your, let's say, I don't know if I missed it, but how do you quote a price for your first customer or second customer when you don't know the ROI for that
industry
customer?
average. Industry average.
Industry average, like whatever the competitors are charging. Right?
Industry average. If you're not having anything, always come with the industry average and always come with the features which already your existing players are having. Do not come with new features. Always come with the new features in the next sprints.
Got it.
People initially compare the product. They never use the new features. They always compare the product because they're used to using the previous product.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So this is how
Awesome.
things work out.
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much, Akshay. This
Thanks.
is nice of you.
Thanks a lot.
Sure. Okay, guys. I'll share this. No
Thanks,
issue.
Akshay.
Okay.
Yeah, share this. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Akshay, could you even share that sheet? Could
Yeah,
you
I'm
mail that
sharing.
sheet?
I'm sharing. I'm making it public and I'm sharing in the group. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll share
thanks.
the
Man.
video also. I'll share the video.
Yeah.
Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Bye, man.